We're going live on the computer. We're going to go live here. It's really nice to see how many people have come out tonight pre-Rosh Hashono. Lots of people are thinking about honey cakes and soups and meats and chickens and all sorts of things that they need to make. So it's nice to see that you did get a chance to have a break from all of that, to come and to join me. Tonight's topic, a bit of an interesting one for me. I spoke about this today. I was asked to give a series of small shurim. They went to Yavne Girls today, and what they did was they split the school up into 6 different groups. And what they did is you had to give 15-minute shurim to each group, and so they were like swapping rounds. So I must say a few things about it. Number one, it's hard to give a 15-minute share when it takes 2 minutes for everyone to sit down. Somebody then comes in and takes register, and then they still need to go. You're left with like 6. That's number one. Number two, if I have to say the same thing 6 times, I get bored of myself. Forget about the kids. I can't bear myself anymore. I'm like, you've said this already 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. Sometimes in conversation, people say things again and again. So if I'm talking to myself and I'm saying it again and again, I'm also getting bored of that. So I asked the question, didn't get that many answers. I think people were a little bit uncomfortable answering, putting themselves forward. But the question that we asked was the following. Why is it not a waste of time coming to shul on Rosh Hashono? And by the way, I asked them, I think they all understood this bit at least, what is the underlying assumption of that question? It is a waste. Yeah? That's why I phrased the question like that. I said, why is it not a waste of time coming to shul on Rosh Hashono? So it was interesting. So I spoke to my daughter about it tonight. We're sitting at the supper table, and I said, I spoke in Yom Kippur and asked them the question, and the girls felt uncomfortable, and I asked them the question, why is it not a waste of time coming to shul on Rosh Hashono? And she looked at me, she goes, it's never waste to go to shul. I'm like, yeah. Our rabbis are excellent, We've trained her well. Shrubberies is the best place to go, But I want to sort of like come back to that, because the first thing I want to say is, sometimes people say, it's a waste, you came, you davened, you didn't daven, what did they do when they came? So the Mishnah says so that one coming to that now. The Mishnah says in Painkillers, it's actually this week's parak, there are 4 types of people that come to shul. There are those that come and actually daven. There are those that daven at home and never show up. There are those that show up and never daven. Yeah, that's the people you're talking about. And there are those people that never come and never daven. I don't know why that's called. There's 4 people that come to Beis Medrash. There's only 3 that come to Beis Medrash, and one of them just backed out entirely. So he says, if you come and you daven, that's the best. If you daven at home, you're not going to get the reward of davening in a shul, but there's the reward of the fact that you are davening. If you come to shul, even if you don't daven at all, as they call them JFK. You heard of JFK? Just for Kiddush? Yeah? JFK. Not on Yom Kippur. Not on Yom Kippur. Although the young kids can come just for Kiddush on Yom Kippur. We have that. So, some people, people look at me and says, you're having a lunch in Yom Kippur on your shul? No, it's for the kids. I didn't know you're that kind of shul. I'm like, no, we're not that kind of shul. It's for the kids. So if you come to shul and do absolutely nothing, you still get the reward of coming to shul. That's what the Mishnah says. It's only the person that doesn't daven and doesn't come to shul that gets 0 reward for their davening. But even just stepping foot in shul already gives you reward. So you say, why is it not a waste of time to come to shul on Rosh Hashono? The bottom line answer that I would give is, anytime you walk into this building for a religious purpose, even if you don't do anything else, you've already getting some form of reward, just the fact that you come here. That's number 1. Number 2, come on. Sorry, we were here before. Yeah. Number 2, and this is an important point also, I would say, and sadly this is getting less and less relevant. Coming to shul on Rosh Hashono and Yom Kippur at one point used to be sort of the bottom level of the rung. There are different levels, everybody's on a different level, and I'm not discussing whose level is correct and where they should be or where they shouldn't be, but the different levels, obviously. They're very, very religious, and then there's moderate religious and less religious, etc., and traditional, call them whatever you want. But even the very traditional people, you'd always have at least, what were they called? 3-day Jews, right? Or 3 times a year, 3-day Jews. By the way, that's changed now. It's down to 2. Why? Why come a second day Rosh Hashanah? It's the same as the first day. They didn't follow the davening. It's not exactly the same. I know you know it's different, Ian, but that's not the point.
If you listen to Ashley Blaker, it is 3 times a year because the third one is Shabbat UK.
Ah. The problem is Shabbat UK is now once every 2 years, so he's wrong. Okay? Yeah. So you have, that's the, talk about 3-day-a-year Jews, 2-day-a-year Jews, whatever you want to call them. I don't want to discourage anybody. But I think at one point this was still the minimum amount of showing I've not entirely given up on this. I'm still Jewish to an extent. Yes, I might not be the religious, and I might not come to shul that often, Rabbi, whatever it is. But Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur in my family was something we would never miss. We wouldn't give up on that. And it kept people anchored in a certain way. It kept them with a feeling that no matter what I do the rest of the year, when it comes to the days that really count me in. I'm with you. I'm there. I'm part of this crowd. Okay? That's the second thing that I would say. Again, low level. It used to be. Right? Okay, that's true. I was going to say that, so I'll actually see what Alex said. I think nowadays either people don't come, or even if they do come, they don't see it anymore in the same way as even being the last rung on the ladder. They might say, I'm off the rung entirely. I'm not even on the ladder. I come to shul on Rosh Hashanah because I come to shul on Rosh Hashanah. But it doesn't mean anything anymore. It doesn't prevent anything anymore, sadly. But the other thing that's very important is there's a communal spirit. Maybe we'll speak about this more on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. But there's a communal spirit. And just coming for that communal spirit, feeling part, one of the girls actually said this. She said belonging. Why do we go to shul? One of the girls said, why do we go to shul on Rosh Hashanah? And one of the girls says, belonging. And I was like, I hope you go to shul for more important reasons than belonging. Although belonging is a reason also. You want to belong to something, that we mentioned before. You want to feel, I'm still part of this club. And you choose the shul that you go to for Rosh Hashanah as part of the club, in inverted commas, where you want to belong. Nobody goes to shul on Rosh Hashanah where they don't want to be, unless you live somewhere where it's very far away from any other shul that you can have. But in general, if you have a choice of shuls, specifically on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, you'll choose the one where you feel most comfortable. You choose the one you feel most welcome, where you like the davening best, where you like the crowd around you best, whatever it is that you like best. But you won't, come on in. You will still feel that sense of belonging. It's still important. But I'd like to speak about maybe something deeper. So I'll start with this. I had the what do you call it, privilege, I had the experience, whatever you want to call it. I went to Wimbledon this year. My son Mayor loves tennis. And last year in November, he says, okay, Daddy, we're sending in a ballot form for Wimbledon. Mayor, we're not sending a ballot form. Yeah, we're sending in a ballot form for Wimbledon. We're going to go to Wimbledon. We're going to win. I said, Mayor, people have been in this ballot for 10 years, 15 years, never once won it. He says, I want to send in a ballot. And he kept on making me sure we're sending a ballot. So finally I went online, and you have to find exactly, they're like so procedural. It's unbelievable. So English. You have to send them, they won't email to you or anything. You have to send them an envelope with another envelope inside that's stamped with your address. And then they put the ballot in there, and you can only send one ballot per each address. And then after they put the ballot in there, you have to fill it out with black ink only, and you can only fill it out with block capital letters, etc., and you send it in, and you sit and you wait. And mid-March, we get a nondescript envelope, which I opened up, you just open up the post, because nowadays most important things don't come in the post. Most important things you get by email, you get some kind of, who's still sending you things in the post? I opened up this letter, nondescript looking letter, and it says, Dear Mr. David Eisenberg, we're very proud to announce to you that you have won 2 tickets to Center Court on Thursday, the 4th of July. If you'd like to take up these tickets, this is how you do it. You know, we hope you'll join us for a wonderful day at Wimbledon. And my son came home, my wife and I were like, we can't believe it. I know people that have tried for years and years and never won it. He's gone in the first time, and right away he won a set of tickets to Center Court. Because that's where all the action is, Center Court. So, okay, we go and we said, yes, please, okay. What are we going to do about school? We'll worry about it. Fine. We went and we bought the tickets. We went and we bought the tickets. I know. It's coming from a rabbi. It's awful. It's just awful. So terrible, your rabbi. But at the time, we were just so excited because Meir had picked up on his learning a little bit and things were going better for him. And we really wanted to reward him. And we thought God was smiling down on him and he's rewarding him. And he won his tickets. It's a funny thing to think that God's smiling down on you when he sends you Wimbledon tickets. But coming from a rabbi, like, God smiled down on you. You daven 6 hours. But like, no, we won Wimbledon tickets. So, okay, we went down to Wimbledon. It was actually straight because obviously you don't call up the school and say, hi, we're going down to Wimbledon. So we just, in the morning of, my son gave them a letter saying he's going to London. He left. We're on the train, and I get like a phone call from the headmaster. He goes, are you on your way to London? I'm like, yeah. I understand you're going for a very mundane reason and not for a simcha. Is that right? I said, well, depends if you consider Wimbledon a simcha or not. You have to, depends how you define it. I'm like, you know what? Do me a favor. Can we discuss this when I get back? I'm already on the train, Fine. Came back, I explained to him, we made peace, it was fine. He was okay with it afterwards when I explained the whole thing to him. But we're sitting in Wimbledon, Center Court only opens at 1. So all the other courts we had to go early, we davened, and then I gave a Torah, and then we got onto the tube, and you go on the tube, and you get out at the right station, and then you're walking with everybody, and it's such fun, and we're walking around this whole England club, and you're looking at this one and that one, and finally the time for Center Court comes. And we get to Center Court, and we had seats, row ZF. Okay? Now, the way it works is like this. You got the bottom set of seats that are the really good seats, and then you get the next tier of seats. And that tier of seats starts at A and goes all the way through to Z, ZA, ZB, ZC, ZD, ZE, ZF. ZF was the top row in the entire stadium. You see these 2 little mini men doing this. Can just barely see the ball. The gods.
Call them the gods.
Call them what you want. Pardon? No, we got to see Rafa Nadal play the Kyrgios. That was the game for the day. So that was the best game of the day. That was the best game in most of the tournament. So we're sitting there in row ZF. And I'm looking around, and it's like things are looking really small. And any of you who know Meir. So Meir just looks at me and he says, Daddy, look, there's seats over there. I said, they're not our seats. There's seats over there. They're empty. There's like half a row empty there. I'm like, Meir, they're going to kick us out of those seats. No. So you know how it goes. You have to wait 3 games until everything sort of starts moving. When the players sit down and take that break, that's when in the stadium you're allowed to move around. Other than that, you're not allowed to move around the entire time in the stadium. You have to stay put. Not only that, this is you gave a whole sermon about this for Yom Kippur. I had a lady turn around to me and get really angry with me. You're talking while they're playing. How disrespectful. Like, you're not allowed to talk while they're playing. You have to keep quiet. And I'm like, we're about 35 rows up, 50 meters away from the players. I'm talking to my son. I guarantee you they don't hear me. But then she was like really, really upset. I thought to myself, come on, we can get 15,000 people in Center Court to be absolutely silent, and we can't get 20 people to shut up at minutes. Yeah, yeah, that's a separate schmooze. Yeah, pardon? Give people tennis. Yeah. Look, Ian, your downing's about as fast as Roger Federer's serve, but that's it. So, hey. Right. So we're sitting there, Mayor. So everyone starts moving around, and Mayor just goes down. He goes down, he sits down over there, he's having a good time, he's watching, and he's looking at me, he's like, seat next to me. I'm like, I'm staying here. It's a seat next to me. Finally, after like 6 games, I decided, you know what, we'll go down, we'll see. So I went down and I sat down next to Meir, and I'm sitting now in row T, and it's quite comfortable, and we're looking out at the entire crowd, and it's actually a much better seat than it was in ZF. And I'm sitting there, and Meir goes, look, there's another row of seats. I'm like, don't do that to me now. We just settled out. He goes, no, we're going there. I'm like, all right, fine. Anyway, they moved. We sat down on that row of seats, and now we're sitting in like row K or L. Yeah, from ZF, we're already coming much further down. Now, mind you, I'll just tell you what the end of the story was. By the end of the afternoon, Meir was sitting in row 8. That's what happened. I did not, at one point or another, they moved, and there was a fellow there that was like in the aisles making sure you went past, and Meir just went over one of the seats and went around, and that was it. And he just made his way down to row A. Like, so he ended up in like row E, then row C, and then row A, and he's looking at you like, because it's ridiculous. I mean, why are there empty seats in row A in Wimbledon on center court when there's a really good match going on? But he's like waving at me and telling me, I'm like, you know what, I'm sitting here. Now, I was quite happy. Row L, I saw a lot better. It was great. I didn't get kicked out the entire time. I didn't even have to move because I'm looking down at my feet, and at my feet were pictures of some liquid with some fruit. Everybody knows at Wimbledon, what do you get? Well, strawberries and cream, and what do you drink? Pims. There we go. You drink Pims. Yeah. So these weren't cups of Pims. These were entire pitchers of Pims. And what had happened basically is I figured out there must have been some kind of corporate tickets there, where somebody has paid a lot of money. Did Gazprom used to do this kind of thing? Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do these tickets cost? Are they over £1,000 each?
For corporate entertainment.
For corporate entertainment, I would have thought so. That's what I thought. They're over £1,000 each. I thought that's what they would cost. We paid £83, but they're paying over £1,000 each. There's an entire row. And these guys, or women, I don't know if it was men or women, but I'm assuming it was mainly men. But they were just sitting there, drinking the Pims, and then they decided, scrap the tennis, we're going to the corporate bar, and they just sat in the corporate bar and they drank. So look, I got no problem with them wanting to go and to have a drink. But quite honestly, I just feel, if you as a company were willing to pay over £1,000 per person to come to Wimbledon, it wasn't for them to get drunk on Pims. You want to get drunk on Pims? Here's £30. Go to the pub on Deansgate and you can buy Pims there. You have to cost me over £1,000 to sit in the stupid lounge drinking Pims. Yeah? Which means they might, so imagine, the next day afterwards, they might have come back to the office and says, how was Wimbledon? Oh, I got such a headache. Says, why? Oh, how much? But you can't imagine how it was great. We just sat in the corporate bar drink. And it's like, what, you didn't watch the tennis match? No, but the alcohol was great. And like, but you didn't go for the alcohol. You went to watch the tennis, idiot. Somebody spent a lot of money for you to watch the tennis. So I was thinking about these people, and I said to myself, you know what? That is, if you go to shul because you want to just be on the bottom of the rung, or you go to shul just because you want to get reward for walking there, or because you want to belong to a club, you're like the guy that shows up at Wimbledon and just drinks Pims and never shows up on some court. So if you want to have a reason why to come to davening, it's obviously not those. They're a bit of a reason. They can give you some kind of inkling. It means you've not come for nothing. So I say, if you went to center court and went on Hellman Hill and went to sleep there for the entire afternoon and then woke up 8 hours later and just went home, that's really a waste. And you can't even say, I got drunk. I slept on Hellman Hill. So at least you have something that you did. But nobody's going to tell, I'm proud I went to Wimbledon and I never watched the tennis. So if you're proud you came to shul and you never did the davening, or you never did anything that was really worthwhile, so what'd you come to shul for? Maybe it is a waste of time. Okay? So I'd like to think about this. And I think I'd like to think in the way I'd like to phrase it is maybe, how'd you get the most of it? How will you get the most out of your Rosh Hashanah? How will you get the most out of coming to shul on Rosh Hashanah and making sure it's not a waste? It's not just showing up and a tick box exercise. I want to do more.
I put it in.
Okay.
If you don't put it in, if you don't join the club and put it in, you have to get out.
Oh, but no, you don't have to get out. It's not kicking anybody out. But you're not going to.
How can you get something out of someone?
Yes. Oh, you're not going to get out. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Unless you put something in.
Okay, absolutely. So this is what I would. Right. Exactly. So what we need to understand is that if you're not going to invest, you're not going to gain anything from it. You have to invest. Because you say, well, why is it not a waste of time? If you don't invest, maybe it's not a complete waste of time, but you're the guy who's drinking pins at the bar. Or the woman, for that matter. So, what does it mean to invest? How do you invest? How do you make a difference? So the first thing really is preparing davening. You have a really long davening ahead of you. I think Harris used to like to say, and I think there's a lot of people feel that. He used to call it an endurance challenge, right? Is that what Harris used to say? He feels sometimes Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are like an endurance challenge. It's God sitting there with a frown or with a smile on his face as if you can handle 6 hours of Adam and the Rabbi, I'll give you a good year. Yeah? I just hope that's not what it is. Pardon?
Or 5 hours of beer.
Well, you can get 5 hours of it, yeah. But that's easier to handle than the Rabbi. Yeah? So if you can handle that, then you got to go. But it must be that there's more to it. And obviously there's more to it. The davening is there really, it should be there to inspire us. It should be there to get us into a certain mood. And it means, first of all, understanding what Rosh Hashanah is about, then understanding what Yom Kippur is about, then understanding what the davening is and how the davening dovetails together with the ideas of Rosh Hashanah and the ideas of Yom Kippur. And once you understand all that, and take the time. I know it's Thursday night and Rosh Hashanah is on Monday, so there's not really that much time. But even if you take a bit of time to start to work it out and to start to get a feeling and understanding for it, it becomes that much more meaningful. I remember once somebody in shul said to me, Rabbi, I find the davening very boring and not very meaningful. I said to that person, I don't even remember who it was, I said, do you understand Hebrew? And they said to me, no, not at all. I said, do you understand what you're saying? They said, no. I said, sure you don't find it meaningful. He says, why not? I said, because how can it be meaningful to stand there, even on a weekday for 45 minutes or for half an hour or for 40 minutes, how long your davening is going to take? How can it be meaningful to mouth words that you have no idea what they're all about for half an hour? If I ask you to read Chinese poetry for 45 minutes, would you not be bored out of your mind? Yeah, you would. I said, if I called it davening, it'd still be boring. It doesn't help. Can't change it. So if Chinese poetry is not exciting, neither is Hebrew poetry, if it's Chinese to you. So it's got to have that. So you start with Rosh Hashanah. What's Rosh Hashanah all about? Rosh Hashanah in general is a day that we describe for Malchus, for kingship. God comes and God is coronated. Every year we say, Hayom. Today is the date of the birth of the world. By the way, what God created on Rosh Hashanah? Man. Because man is really the pinnacle. Man, it doesn't mean man as in males as opposed to females. I mean Homo sapiens. Right? Man was created on Rosh Hashanah as the pinnacle of all creation. The final thing God says, the entire thing was created what for? For one person. For Adam Rishon. Created on his own. God created only one. And the Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us it would have been worth it to create the entire world for only one. Then God said, well, one's not good enough because one's going to get a little bit too full of himself. Let me give him a wife that's going to bring him down a few rungs. Yeah? And that's what he did. So then you have man, woman. But that's what happens on Rosh Hashanah. And Rosh Hashanah is revisiting that day, revisiting the day that God created man. And for us to say, this is the day that you created man and mankind. This is the day that the entire creation was set into motion. And every year on the birthday, the Hebrew birthday of that day, we commemorate that and we coronate you king again for this year. And so if you go through the davening on Rosh Hashono, you will find that there's one word that will come up again and again and again, and that is Melech. Because it's all about Melech. You'll see it's all about Melech again and again. He's the king, he's the king, he's the king. Now, what does it mean that God's the king? It's for each person you have to sit down. That's something you can focus on. That's something that you can meditate upon and think about. What does it mean in my life? I'm struggling with something. God is the king. You know, I have a certain problem. I have a certain blessing in my life. Same thing. It's all coming from the same source. God is the king who's bestowing everything upon us. And so Rosh Hashanah is the day where we coronate the king and we say, everything I have and everything I am is because of you. There's nobody else. There's no other power. There's nothing else. You are the Melech. You are the king. We have a problem with royalty because we don't really understand royalty the way people used to. I think, you know, even though we have a monarch here in England, the monarch doesn't have absolute power. It's a very, very different kind of monarchy. And it's not everything we have in this country is because of Queen Elizabeth. But everything we have in our lives is because of Hashem. And Rosh Hashanah is the day to commemorate that. Rosh Hashanah is the day to celebrate that. And the Rosh Hashanah is the day to say to Hashem, you are the king and I want to be part of your nation, a special nation that is going to coronate you and that is going to fulfill your task in this world, your will in this world. And then you take out the davening, whether it is, you know, there's certain parts of the davening that are very, very meaningful and very moving. Whether you want to have a look at Hineni. Hineni is the part that the Chazan says before, right? Exactly. Hineni onim emas. Behold, I am the one who doesn't have any real, right? Any real deeds to stand before you. Because no matter what good you've done during the year, in reality, we're still just so small and so lacking as to what we can do for God that we stand there. There's the recognition by the Chazan, and really the truth is, if you read through it and you say it for yourself, or you think about it yourself, you know, he says, I am really frightened to stand before you to daven to you. Because who am I? What am I? You say, I gave tzedakah this year. Wow, I gave you the money. I helped my wife this year. Wow, I'm the one that gave you a wife. Whatever you did, God can say, all right, I helped you do it. So you want to make a big fuss of yourself? It's a very humbling prayer. That you read it and you understand it, and the humility that then needs to come with your stepping towards God and praying, it changes your entire view of it, as opposed to demanding. It's the other way around. You know, I went to Lidl a few weeks ago. And at Lidl, it's interesting that this happens even in big shops. The cash machine, the card machines weren't working. It's only cash. It was very strange because everybody was coming with full trolleys to the checkout counter. And then there's a big sign here, no cards today, cash only. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever been to a shop when that's happened? Yeah? Now what happens automatically? Everybody does the same thing. Well, I'm going to do the male version of it because women don't really go around with pockets, so they look in the pocketbook. Everyone's like, what do I have on me? I'm not a cash person. So I pulled out my pocket. I'm not much of a cash person. I like using my debit card and everything. Why pull the cash out to pay them if I can just take it straight out of my bank account that way? Everything's on my debit card. So I pull out my debit card and say, sorry, no cards. I pull out from my pocket, I got 10 pounds. That's all I have. Got a lot more on my card, but in this shop, irrelevant of how much money, I could have 50 million. I don't, but I could have 50 million on my backyard. In this shop, it's irrelevant because they're only taking cash. So I started going through my trolley. It was a very humbling experience. You start taking out all the items. £2.50, £3.50, this we don't need. £5, £6, £8, £9.25. That's it. That's all I can afford. And that was it. I had to put one item away. I had oranges and I was going to buy the oranges. I couldn't take the oranges. They were 85 pence, and they would put me over the 10 pounds. And the people standing behind me, very nice people, non-Jewish people, they said, so would you like us to pay for your oranges? I was like, you get like all, and when somebody offers to pay for something of yours, so if somebody comes, would you like me to pay you 500 pounds for doing it? Yeah, I'll take it. Would you like me to pay 89 pence for oranges? I can pay for my own oranges. At 89 pence, I can afford them, even as a rabbi. You get to feel really, sorry. You get to feel like, you get this feeling of like, no, if you do pay for them, I'm sending you the money now from my phone onto your bank account, but I'm not. In the end, we left the oranges. But I remember coming out, it was a very humbling experience of having a trolley and having to start taking out of that trolley and saying, what can I keep and what can I not keep? And then I said that to a friend of mine, and he said, this is what it means. It says in the davening we say we come before HaKadosh Baruch Hu as poor people. You know what it means when you come as a poor person? A poor person only has so much money. The strange thing is with God is we seem to think we have this huge credit account. We've come with a trolley full of stuff. I want nachas for myself, and I want shalom bayis with my wife, and I want nachas for my kids, and I want to make money this year, and I want to be healthy, and I want all my family to be healthy, and all my friends to be healthy. You pile it on, and you show up by God by the checkout counter. He goes, well, what do you have in here? I brought £2, but you took a whole trolley's worth. Can't show up with £2 for a whole trolley's worth of things. But hineni ha'ani memas. If you say beforehand, before we start nam, you say to God, you know what? I realize whatever I do, it's too little. I can't really do anything to pay you. But please accept my prayer anyway. That changes your entire view to prayer. I didn't show up here to do you a favor. I was like, I don't need your favors. But if you change your attitude to, I owe you, please, God, be willing to accept my prayers even though I might not really deserve it. Very different prayer. And it'll change your entire Rosh Hashono that. And the other idea, you look at not a Communal, sorry, you look at Nisana Tokef. That's the other very, very powerful prayer. You take a Nisana Tokef, it's a prayer in the middle of Musaf. We say it twice on Rosh Hashono and then once in Yom Kippur, every time in Musaf. Unesane Tokef Kedushas Hayom. Read the story first of Amnon of Mainz. Anybody who's got an art scroll sitter will find the city there of Amnon of Mainz was once said to the bishop in the area that he would consider thinking about converting. And then when the bishop called him to come back to tell him, are you willing to convert or not? He said, I'm not willing to come. So in the end he said, so then they schlepped him there. He says, cut off my tongue because I said something so terrible that I even would consider converting. And instead it's terrible. They chopped his hands and his legs. And Rav Amnon was left basically to die. And they brought him to shul on Rosh Hashono. And before everybody, he said this prayer. Unesane Tokef Kedushas Hayom. We will say over now the strength, the importance of this day. Ki hu nora ve'oyom. It is awesome, and it should inspire us with fear. Etc. And then you go through it. Mi yichya, mi yamos, who's going to live, who's going to die. Mi bekitzo, who in his time, mi lo bekitzo, who before his time. Who with water, and who with fire, and who with this, and who with that. You go through it. We read of how even the angels in heaven, everyone trembles before Rosh Hashono. Hine yom adin, behold, this is the day of the judgment. We show up in shul, we laugh. It's a very, very different day. When you read Nisana Tokef and you get an understanding of what's going on, because the tefillahs are telling you, this is actually what's going on in the background. You just don't see it because you can't. But the day is frightening. Everything is decided on Rosh Hashono and on Yom Kippur. And you prepare these things and you come to shul knowing full well when they're going to come. And I say to myself, during these two prayers, I'm going to focus. You know what? I'll be there for 5 hours. I'll be there for 4, 4.5, 3, whatever, however long the time is going to take. Irrelevant how long you'll be there for at the moment. You talk about being there for the whole thing, obviously. I'm not saying it's irrelevant how long to be there, but however long you're there, whatever it is, find those moments that you're going to say, I'm going to make this my Rosh Hashono moment. For this year, my Rosh Hashono moment is going to be one of these two things. Or choose another moment. The Chomaminim, if you want to be a so-called Malchios, bowing down by Oleinu Shabbat. Think about it. We say Oleinu Shabbat once a year. It becomes like usually Oleinu is like Oleinu is like the garbage prayer at the end. It almost feels like. Everyone's like, just rapping all the time. But Oleinu is really a very, very important prayer, very holy prayer. And we say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, we should give praise to you. You made us different. You turned us into Jews. We bow down to you, Hashem. We're the only ones that have that special privilege to have that kind of relationship with Hashem. Not that whether you have a monopoly on God. There's other monotheistic religions who believe in our God. But only we as Jews have a special relationship like that. So you daven, you look at this Aleinu, it gives you a feeling you should feel Jewish pride. That's real Jewish pride. That's the authentic Jewish pride. Beyond any parades or anything else you want to do. Authentic Jewish pride is, I'm proud to be God's Jew. And then realize you take these parts of davening and you make them part of yourself. The next 3 days, looking through them, really understanding that when you come and you sit down and you say, I'm not wasting my time. I'm watching the match. I'm not on the bar drinking pims. I'm in there all the way, watching all the action, understanding what's going on. The worst is if you're watching something, I know for me, it's, for example, once or twice I've watched rugby, and I don't know how rugby works. You love rugby, don't you? I don't know how it works. So if you don't know how it works, it just looks like a whole bunch of people running into each other, throwing the ball, starting at and then they start pushing each other, throwing the ball, and back down on the ball, and you don't know what's going on. It's really frustrating. I'm not saying that it has no sense or reason. I just don't know how it works. Okay, for some people, American football doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying that there's not different sports that people don't like or people don't understand, and some people don't like baseball, don't understand baseball or cricket, whatever it is. But the most frustrating thing is to sit and to have to watch something that you don't understand. When you're sitting and you're watching rugby for an hour, so if you love the game, it's amazing. If you don't even know how the game is played, you're trying to figure out, I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. What are they doing? They're pushing, they're coming, they're shoving, they're throwing the ball down, they're throwing it around. It's the same in shul. Some people are watching like, what is going on? The rabbi's going up, the bima is coming down, the bima, the chas is going, and he's coming back down, and the chas is bowing down, and they're blowing the shofar, they're coming, they're doing, they're going, they don't know, you don't know what's going on. It feels like watching as a spectator, being in the front row and having no idea what sport is being played. It's very hard. It's very, very hard. And it becomes almost a waste of time. That's what it feels like. That's part of the reason we feel like that. And if you take the time to prepare, and you take the time to understand what Rosh Hashanah is and what power Rosh Hashanah has for us for the entire year, it will change your entire view of Rosh Hashanah. I'll leave you with one story. This is a story that I read. I thought it was an amazing story. There was a young man who had terrible back pain. He was married, he had a few children, and he got this terrible chronic back pain. And he said every time he sat down, he couldn't sit. And when he stood for too long, and he was just, he didn't know where to put himself. And he couldn't learn, he couldn't work, he couldn't function properly as a parent or as a husband because he was constantly on spilkes. He was just constantly eggy because he's got this terrible back pain. So anything that happens, when you have terrible pain and somebody, no matter what people say, you just, you bark at them. Too much pain. And somebody came to him before Rosh Hashono. He said to him, listen, how many years have you had this back pain for already? He said, 12 years. He says, why don't you this Rosh Hashono, daven to Hashem, that he should take away that back pain. Make that your focus for this Rosh Hashono. You've had this pain for 12 years. Say to God, this is God, you're renewing my contract this year. It's a new contract. Let's not discuss contracts now, but it's a new contract. It's not a good time for rabbis to be discussing contracts. Yeah? But it's a brand new contract. And renew it this year without the back pain. Let me off from this entire suffering. And so the fellow took it upon himself and says, you know what, that's a good idea. He took it upon himself and he went to his old yeshiva and he took all his machazorim and he made sure to only talk holy things throughout the entire Rosh Hashanah, not to waste any time. And he davened really seriously and he said, Hashem, please, I can't function as a husband. I can't function as a father. I'm not able to work and just getting disability and I feel terrible about it because really, if I didn't have this pain, I would be able to do the work. I have a job. I have something I can do. Just please help me get rid of this terrible pain. And about 3 weeks later, this man goes to a clinic. He goes back to the clinic in Eretz to Kupat Cholim, and he's going there just to pick up his prescription for his back pain medication. So he comes inside and he says to him, "Excuse me, yes, where's my regular doctor?" So he's not here. You have somebody else here today. Oh, all right. So he comes inside and he's sitting in front of this 25-year-old kid. This guy's just graduated medical school. And he's looking like, what am I supposed to do with this kid? What does he know? He's just graduated. Was he given like 3 prescriptions so far for somebody to take paracetamol? All right. So he sits down with this young man and he says to him, "Young man, I'd like a prescription for Voltaren, please. Voltaren, very, very strong painkillers. I'd like my prescription, 3 months. This is how much I need. Please write out the prescription." And the guy says, "That's a lot of painkillers. I have some very strong painkillers. Why are you taking that many painkillers?" He says, "Look, you're new here. Let me explain something to you. I've been taking this stuff for 12 years. I have chronic back pain. If you had as much back pain as I had, you'd take the same kind of medication. Don't you tell me or start giving me a Musar Shmooze, okay? Just write out the prescription. Give me the prescription so I can move on with my life and you can move on to the next patient and just leave me alone." And the guy says, "But you shouldn't really be taking these." He says, "Listen, I told you. 12 years of back pain have taught me. I can't, I barely can function with the painkillers. Without them, life's impossible. I'm sorry, you have to write this prescription." This guy says, "Have you checked it?" "Yes, what do you think, I'm stupid? I've been to the doctors, and I've been to private doctors, I've been to consultants, I've been to people abroad. I've tried everywhere, nothing's helped." So the guy says to him, "Have you ever checked your kidneys?" "Shalom Aleichem, welcome out of medical school. Kidneys, I have back pain. What are you talking to me about kidneys for?" He says, "What's with your kidneys?" He says, "No, you should have an ultrasound on your kidneys." "I don't need an ultrasound on my kidneys. Just write out my prescription for my medication and let me get going." He says, "An ultrasound here in Israel costs nothing. It's part of Kubat Cholim. There's even a place downstairs. I'll give you the prescription. Now you go downstairs, you have it. You go have it done on the spot, or maybe in a week from now you can have an appointment and check out." The guy went back and forth. He says, "Look, I'm only giving you your prescription for your medication if you go and have this ultrasound." "Okay, fine." So he takes the ultrasound referral and he goes down and makes an appointment. He comes back the next week and he's got his prescription already for his pain medication, and he goes and he has this technician. It's not even a consultant or anything. It's just technicians that do the ultrasounds in Israel. And this technician is doing the ultrasound and he's checking over the fellow and he goes, "Oh, wow, you have a serious problem in your kidneys." It's really, he's got something really serious going on over here. "But that's okay. We could sort it. We'll send you a nephrologist and sort that out, etc." He goes, "Well, what is it?" He told him what he had. He says, "By the way, the problem that you have causes awful back pains, I've been told." He goes, "Oh, you're telling me?" Yeah. So he went to a nephrologist, sorted out his problems with his kidneys, pain-free today, working, father, husband. He got his life back. And every year he makes a small Suda Soda, a small party to thank Hashem for the fact that he took him out of his pain. Because he says, I would have gone back to my original doctor, and the doctor's seen me for 12 years already, and he's not thinking out of the box or anything, so he would say, yeah, here you go, here's your prescription, like he's done for the last 12 years. And it took some young whippersnapper, some schnook just out of medical school, to come up with some ridiculous idea to solve the problem. How did that happen? How is it that all the professors and all the different consultants and everything missed it, and this guy that's just come out of medical school, he knew what to do? He didn't. God put it in his head. He might have been I doubt he's any cleverer than any of the real professors that knew what they were doing. For whatever reason, he had to have that pain by the time he davened properly, the pain went away. And he believes fully that his davening on Rosh Hashono changed his fate forever. So you ask yourself the question, why is it not a waste of time coming to shul on Rosh Hashono? If you don't make the most of your Rosh Hashono, you're a fool. God gives you a chance. It's called Melech Basada. Boris Johnson, if you go to Downing Street and want to speak to him, you'll never get in. But if Boris Johnson is walking through a hospital, an NHS hospital, then some dad somewhere is going to cost him about the NHS. You're NHS and you need to get it better, etc. When would that guy have ever had a chance to speak to Boris Johnson to tell him that the NHS is not working properly? Never. Except when Boris is on a trip and he's in when he's in the hospital and he was in the hospital, he can come forward and make a comment. And that's exactly what's going on in Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is called Melech Basar. God's out there. God says, I'm not in my palace. I'm out amongst the people. I'm ready to hear what you have to say. What do you have to say? I'm bored. What a shame. That's what you have to say. God says, I'm finally come out. I finally came to your constituency to hear what you have to say. I want to listen to what you have to say. What do you have to say? So this is what you need to ask yourself. There's that much to say. There's that much to be able to be gained from Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And you don't want to waste it. What a shame to waste it, because if you waste it, you'll be the guy drinking Pims in the bar. We don't want to be the guy drinking Pims in the bar. You want to know, you want to understand center court, you want to understand tennis, and you want to be fully in the game. Leanne.
Which is the answer that you were supposed to ask?
Rosh Hashanah is really the under, but if you did ask for things for yourself in Rosh Hashanah, it's not terrible. So there is that discussion about Rosh Hashanah being about God only. So on the day of the coronation of the king, you speak about the king. You don't tell the king what you want. You coronate the king. Afterwards, you can say, Your Majesty, now that we've coronated you as our king, we would like to have X, Y, and Z. But if you want to daven for something for yourself in Rosh Hashanah, you feel it will give you an impetus to daven properly, then daven for whatever it is you need for yourself as well. Yeah, Robert.
You mentioned earlier, we daven on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. Sometimes you don't know what you're saying. You don't understand what the Hebrew is.
Yeah.
You go to read the English.
Yes.
I still don't understand sometimes what the English is saying.
Okay, that is a problem.
What's the best way to get around this?
The best way to get around this is to read the English before you came.
Get the rabbi to do 20 seconds.
Yeah. No, the best thing to do is, so if you read, so either do one or two things. If there are parts of the davening that you don't understand even in English, if you read them beforehand, you might get a better chance. And if you read them and you still don't understand them, I'm happy to sit with you and discuss it with you. The different parts of the davening. Some of them are very poetic and some of them are very Kabbalistic. So even if you read the English, you won't really understand what it means. About fire angels and this one and that one. That's beyond us. I won't be able to explain that to you either. But the parts of the davening that are very, very simple and straightforward and could and should speak to us if we spend the time focusing on them and learning them. Yeah, I would say select. I don't think anybody here, including myself, has the wherewithal for 5 hours of full concentration, and understanding.
Why Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? Build up every week, say to yourself, on Shabbos morning or on Friday night or on a Yom Kippur, and take part of the davening. Why
Yeah.
do Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur?
Okay,
The more fluent you become.
I accept that. But what I would say is that on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, there's special davening. So even if you're very fluent in the regular davening, there's so much extra on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur that speaks specifically about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. They'd be ashamed to miss out on that as well. I'm not saying you shouldn't do what you just said now. It's a very good idea, and I would recommend for anybody even to take the davening seriously during the rest of the year. I'm just saying on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, there are extra bits also that would need more thought or different thought than the rest of the year, and you need to focus on that as well.
But, there's a lot of repetition.
Yeah.
More repetition on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur than there is any other time, because you repeat prayers or phrases more than once.
Yeah.
Hashem El Rahman Khalid.
Yeah.
And you do it for sleepers and do it.
Absolutely.
Because you're reiterating
Uh-huh.
about God, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you're confirming.
Well, certain things are for confirmation and certain things are for prayers, as that they have different functions, different things within the davening are being reiterated for different functions. They're not all about one thing. But yeah, definitely. There's a lot of repetition, a lot of that on Rosh Hashanah. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, Russell, then Ron. No, Ron is older, and he's the life vice president. And he's the life vice president.
No, going back to how you started off with this portrait from source of Jews.
Yes.
And I think what the guys have been saying is that the fifth sort of Jew who comes to shul with the intention of davening.
Yes.
But as you said, hasn't got a command of you.
Yes.
And basically, he can sit there from 8 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
till 2 o'clock,
Yeah.
davening away.
Yeah.
No idea what he's saying.
It's very possible.
No idea what. It's not a waste of time. In
Well,
the
but
sense
God
what is it?
No. So the answer to that question is it is not a waste of time, but it is a waste of an opportunity. That's how we'll put it.
So
It's not a waste of time because at the end of the day, he will still get reward for it and God still listens to him. But the opportunity is there to pray properly, and he's, you get different levels. He might have gotten level 2 when he could have gotten level 10. but it's not zero. I wouldn't say it's a complete and utter waste of time.
As you, as the rabbi of the shul,
Yeah.
on Rosh Hashono morning,
Yeah.
are you going to turn around, or do you think it's even a good idea to turn around to your congregation?
Yeah.
90% of whom you can be guaranteed don't understand the word of it, Hebrew,
Right.
right? And so say, look, here are certain prayers that are very relevant on this stage. You have
Right.
highlighted here in the New Testament,
Yeah.
I recommend that you read these in English.
Okay, I got no issue with that.
Rather than saying them in Hebrew.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, but what do you do that?
Will I do that? We could do that this year. If people think that that's a more worthwhile way of doing things, then maybe yes, we should do
We'll
that.
give you focus points within the service.
Yeah, we'll give focal points. So what people do instead of doing that, what people will do is they take a break before these things, and you have a 2-3 minute introduction to the prayer to give that prayer a bit of meaning. And then I could say at the same time, this is the introduction to the prayer. This is what the prayer means. We're going to be saying it in the Hebrew now, but anybody who would like to say it in the English and thinks that the English will be more meaningful to them because they don't understand the Hebrew, then please say it in the English, because if that's going to give you meaning for your prayers, then do that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
There's no part you can say anything if we can't talk.
If we're going to be doing something for davening specifically, we can do it anyways. Right? Then we can do explanatories. Again, we can do explanatories. We can do anything within the davening. It will lengthen the davening, not very long, but slightly. It just as people, if people think it's something we should be doing, then let's do it.
So we cut out the service and we make
I don't know. People can come to me. People tell me if I get enough people say they want to do it, I'm very happy to do that. I have no issue doing it. All these things, we can do all of them. Why not? No, we're not going to do all of them. We'll choose. I know in a lot of shuls, they choose 3, 4, 5 maximum things that they're going to focus on during the Amidah, during the repetition of the Amidah. And the rabbi, the rabbi's already arranged with the chazan when, so the chazan knows when to stop, and the rabbi's going to get up, and he speaks for 2 or 3 minutes explaining the following prayer is going to be about X, Y, and Z. Have a look in the English if you want to read along in the English. This is what it means. I'm going to be saying this, but it means when people get to these important critical junctures within the prayer, they will realize, A, I'm coming to a critical juncture, B, now might be a good time to focus, even if I'm not focused most of the time, and C, they'll understand what they're saying. So absolutely, I take it on board. So if people want that, then I take that on board and we'll do that. Okay. Yeah, when Russell wanted to say something else.
Years ago, we the only mass there we had were either the translation was Yiddish,
Yes.
or it was a Birnbaum. It didn't understand what the hell it was talking.
Well, that's exactly what Robert is saying.
Yeah, but then
Yes.
30 years ago, we started to get Art Scroll Mass Theory.
Yes.
And in the Art Scroll Mass Theory,
I'm not getting to that discussion now.
were beautiful translations with explanations to our heart's content.
Yes.
And we all know them.
Yeah.
And how many of us can be, in all honesty, ever take advantage of the many hours and hours that went into that preparation of that English?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think we all are, to a certain extent, we get caught up with just davening, and we're not spending the time taking advantage. Okay, ideally do it before Yom Tov.
Yeah.
If you can't do it before Yom Tov,
Yes.
at least during a 5-6 hour service,
Yes.
we've all got those translations.
Yeah.
Every prayer has got a beautiful translation and an explanation.
And again, if I give a list beforehand, I can even give a list and say, if you want to do some reading, these are the ones that I would recommend, because they will be the most meaningful, or they'll be the most inspiring.
Yeah.
Certain prayers are just less inspiring because they talk about the different, Hashem Melech, Hashem Melech, Hashem Yimach. There's a pismon that we say, but we say Kol Shinane, you speak about the different angels and the people, and then everybody comes together and says Hashem Melech, Hashem Melech, Hashem Yimach, which is a beautiful prayer. But I don't think anyone's going to be inspired by the different types and descriptions of the different angels. Whereas Sana Tokev will be inspirational. So I could give a list, or we could get up. But yeah, you're right. We have the art scroll there. That's part of what I'm saying is I don't need to stand up and translate the entire thing, because almost everybody here has the booklet that's got the translation in it. But I can point out this is where we're going to focus.
Wake us up. We need to be woken up.
Right.
We come into a